Welcome back to another episode of Just Your Average Baker. I'm Amelia, and in today's episode we are making a sushi cake. I'm very excited for this. This will be my second cake involving fondant, so I'm a little bit nervous as well. I was inspired by How to Cake It's sushi cake that she did, and I will link her video and her blog post down below because I do change a couple of things. So you should check out hers as well and see what I've done differently. And let's get right into what you guys are going to need for today's cake decorating video. Okay, so for today's cakes, because yes, it is cakes plural, we'll be making two different sushi cakes. One is going to be a Maki Roll with roe, and for that one, you're going to need some seaweed colored fondant. I used black and green food coloring to color mine. You're going to need some shredded coconut for the rice, some vanilla frosting. The vanilla frosting will be used for all of these, obviously. And then for the Maki Roll with roe on top, my roe are made out of Jelly Bellies, orange ones that I've cut in half and rolled into this ball shape. And then on those I'm going to put some strained apricot jam just to make them look a little bit shinier, more like realistic fish eggs. For your second sushi piece, we're going to do a nigiri. I know I might be saying it wrong. And for that, we're going to put a piece of salmon on top. So you will need some salmon colored salmon colored fondant and a white fondant as well. And then obviously having some cornstarch handy when we start working with our fondants. And then you will also need cake, of course. I've chosen to do chocolate cake, but you could do whatever flavor you wanted. You'll need 3 mini cakes leveled and cut in half so that you can fill them. 2 of them will be the Maki Roll, and 1 of them we're going to shape into our nigiri. Step 1 will be to ice and fill our cakes and then put them in the fridge to chill. And I forgot to mention, but if you want to, you can use some cookie sticks or some dowels or straws also to support your cake. I'm probably going to use 3, that's what I normally do, even though this is only going to be 2 of these stacked up. Still going to do it so that it is super stable. Oh, also worth mentioning, you definitely can do this with homemade cake and homemade frosting. I did use a box mix today for my cake, and as you can see, I'm also using store-bought frosting. That's just because I'm lazy. But if you want to see my recipe for buttercream, I will link that down below, or my buttercream video where I show you a recipe. And then you could use whatever cake recipe you wanted, really. At this point, I want to put in my dowels for support. I measured and trimmed my dowels to be the correct length for my cake, and now I'm going to put them in.
I was born in a seaside town. They say I have salt in my eyes. I was born in a...
Okay, looks pretty good for this one. We'll trim our next cake to look like a little piece of rice for our nigiri, and then we will crumb coat it as well. Then, like I said, we'll pop these in the fridge and we'll be on to the next thing after they've been refrigerated for about 20 minutes. This is going to be interesting. I've never trimmed a cake like this, so start with a little because you can always take more off. So I think that's looking pretty good. I'm going to ice it now and clean up some of these crumblies first before I ice it, and then yeah, not as bad as I thought it was going to be, so yay! Pile on the frosting, because you can always take more off. It's actually easier to throw a bunch on top and then remove it than it is to try and work with just a small amount. Okay, we are crumb coated. While our cakes are chilling, we can go ahead and start working with our fondant. I'm going to start with our white and our salmon color to make our piece of salmon that's going to go on top of our nigiri. I'm actually going to save out a little bit of white for later and a little bit of the pink. And that will be for ginger, and then I'm going to dye this with a little bit of green for wasabi.
Shoes and ships and sealing wax, they all melt away.
Well, it's not doing exactly what I would have hoped, but that's okay. We roll with it. It's not terrible, but it's not exactly what I was going for. So I'm trimming my fondant to fit my cake, and you'll have to trim yours to fit whatever size cake that you're doing. And this does not have to be perfect because, of course, fish isn't perfect, but not terrible. Now we have our seaweed green, and we're just gonna roll it out to a big circle and then again cut it to size depending on the size of your cake.
But the leaving is better if you don't cry.
I'm going to trim my fondant to my cake, and like I said, you should, trim yours to your cake. And the only measuring device I have is this yardstick, but it works. Before we cover this cake with fondant, we are going to go over the icing with a fresh coating of icing, just so that the fondant has something to stick to. And it can be a very thin layer, it doesn't have to be thick. Okay, now for the scary part, well, scary part for me, putting the fondant on. The moment of truth. Oh my gosh, no, no, no. That's sad. That's so sad. But you know what? It's the back of our cake. So I'm thinking we just kind of do a little bit of that, a little bit of this. Squish it up a bit more. Just kind of give it a good squeeze till the fondant comes together. If you've made this mistake, like me. And that line is actually okay because this is sushi, and sushi has a little line in the back. Okay! I scooched this guy onto a fresh cutting board because this one was all floopy with frosting. I'm going to add a wee bit extra frosting to this guy, and then we're going to cover him in, cover him in coconut flakes. That's the one. This guy is so hard to ice, and I don't... What exactly we're doing, I don't know. I do know I'm getting coconut everywhere. I don't know what I was just recording. Hopefully I haven't missed anything. Okay, so we have our salmon piece now, and we're just going to hope that it sticks together here. We're going to lay it over the top of that, and then I'm going to brush it with some of the apricot jam so that it looks all shiny. onto our Maki Roll. So we'll need the shredded coconut again for this guy. And then I'm going to coat these guys in some of this apricot stuff. Rinse off your paintbrush if you're using one for your apricot stuff, because now with a little bit of the black and green food coloring diluted with either water or a clear alcohol, we're going to brush the fondant of the seaweed just to give it a little bit extra shine and color. This also adds a little bit of extra texture to the cake, which is nice. Then let that paint dry until it, doesn't come off on your hands. And while we wait for that to dry, we'll make a little bit of wasabi and a little bit of ginger. And then I think we're almost done. For our wasabi, you're going to need your green food coloring again. And just color it until it becomes the color that you want your wasabi to be.
Raindrops in my tiny blue teacups.
Our little blob of wasabi. For our ginger, you're just going to take little pieces, kind of press them out into little thin circles. These definitely don't have to be perfect. And then I'm just going to go like that. I'm going to make a few of them to make this a little pile of ginger. Ba-bam! And there we have it, our Maki Roll with roe on top and our nigiri with some salmon on top, accompanied by wasabi and some ginger. It turned out definitely better than I thought it would. Anytime I'm working with fondant, I just get nervous. Not really sure why. Probably because I haven't done it too many times. But pretty pleased with how this turned out. No major disasters while we were working, which is always a good thing. And it looks like sushi, so, I'll take it. Well, we made a sushi cake. I'm not going to taste it for you guys today. I will do a clip of me cutting into it at the end, but it's just chocolate box cake with vanilla icing, so it's gonna taste good. I think it turned out pretty darn cute. The Maki Roll is my favorite. The salmon nigiri is okay, but it's not my favorite. The Maki Roll, I think, is pretty darn cute, and also the wasabi and the ginger turned out pretty good too, if I do say so myself. Overall, I'm pleased though. Yeah, I had a good time making this cake, and I think it turned out pretty well. Overall experience, 2 thumbs up. We have made it to the end of today's video. We made our sushi cakes and they turned out pretty darn cute, if I do say so myself. I really enjoyed making them today, and if you enjoyed watching me make them, then please go like this video, thumbs up it, whatever you do. Subscribe to the channel to see more baking videos, candy videos, food related videos in general, and I will see you guys next week. Happy baking, bye. My kitchen's really messy. See how I just tripped over a mess that's actually behind me. See how I've conveniently only shown you this half of the kitchen? That's because that half looks like a tornado blew through. It really does. It's embarrassing, so I can't show you. But we've all been there. Don't lie. I just think they're so cute. Don't you guys think they're so cute? The little sushi cake. I don't know. I think they're adorable.